this year we decided to change the primary school that my stepdaughter goes to. At that other school, I once got a newsletter saying that they needed to fundraise for more iPads because the children had been breaking them. Maybe if you don't want iPads to get broken, then maybe you shouldn't be giving them to children that might break them. Maybe if you're going to give a child an iPad, they should be supervised. Or if you're going to give a child an iPad, because those things are worth like, what are they worth, like $800? Maybe it's less than that. They're worth quite a lot of money anyway. A couple $100 at least. And you're giving them to 5-year-olds. What do you think is exactly going to happen if you give a 5-year-old a piece of glass with electronic stuff in the back of it? I still drop shit. But at least if I drop an iPad, it's usually my iPad and it was my fault. Or it's at least insured. But I feel like giving a whole class an iPad, like each child an iPad, is kind of just asking for trouble. Giving them all something that expensive and then like expecting them to not fall over with their iPad or just like sit on it or whatever, or like break it in some way seems a little ridiculous. My other thing that I was thinking about the other day was that whether electronic media and iPads and projectors and all the computers that they have at schools, especially at primary schools, whether that's necessary or not. I read an article recently about that topic, about whether there's kind of too much of that in schools, especially primary schools at the moment. And one of the points they made in that article was that it's important for children to learn new technologies and learn how to use them. And if we don't teach children how to use new technologies, then they'll be behind when they go into high school or when they go into the workforce. Now, I thought it was an interesting point to make, especially for primary school kids, because first of all, they're kind of far away from being in the workforce. The second point that I thought straight away was particularly with like things like Apple products or touch products, like electronic touch products, where you're using your fingers to move the page and play games and stuff. Those are all being made and designed to be easy to use. And they're intrinsically easy to use. They've made them so that people can kind of know how to use them really quickly, that they're super simple and easy to use. That's part of the design process. They haven't made these products making them difficult. Now, if anyone's going to have trouble trying to get to know and learn how to use these types of products, these types of new technologies, it's going to be the older people in our society, not the younger ones, because the younger ones have been brought up with these new technologies. Even if they don't have one in their house, they'll probably have been in contact with one. I don't think that it needs to be taught in schools. It's not a difficult thing to learn how to use an iPad. Those types of technologies are, like I said, intrinsic and really easy to use. That's kind of the point. It's not going to take them lots and lots of practice and lots of time and lots of tutoring to get to know them. Most children I know can figure out how to use my iPhone. It's bizarre. They know, they've been brought up with a certain kind of, technological advantage because they've never known life without it, and they get introduced to them so early now. So it makes absolutely no sense to me as to why you would need to train a child to use an iPad. It doesn't make sense. They're not going to be behind if they don't have iPads in their class. They're just not. It's also not a necessary tool of everyday life. And maybe it will be in 100 years, maybe it will be in 10 years, but at the moment it's not. And even if it was, do you really think it would be that hard to learn on the job? Like, people still have to be trained to use new technologies. They have to be trained to use new programs on computers. Just because they didn't learn it when they were 5 doesn't mean they won't get the job. So it seems a little strange to me to be trying to, I think that they're trying to just kind of think of excuses to bring in new technologies. And actually the article that I read was talking about the fact that a lot of these technologies are fads, and a lot of them will be they won't even be used by the time these kids get out of school, their schooling. So it's often the government kind of tries to push in all of these new fandangled things, but really what they should be doing is concentrating on the fact that there are plenty of children in New Zealand and other countries that go to school with no breakfast, and they don't have any lunch, and they're poor, and there's issues going on at home, and the fact is, like, it's almost impossible to learn, particularly when you're a child and you're going to school and you haven't had any breakfast and you don't have any lunch. If you're hungry, you're not going to learn and you're not going to concentrate. And those children need more support than they're getting. And some schools have, like, I know that some schools have these, they have like fruit bowls and all sorts of things. But instead of spending all this fucking money, all of this these taxpayers' money, all of our money on iPads that are just getting fucking broken anyway, maybe we should be concentrating on the more basic and basic needs of children, and stop trying to make it more complicated than it is. If you actually focus on the real problems and issues that children are facing, it's not whether they can use a fucking iPad or not. So please subscribe or like if you agreed or disagreed. Please comment, all of that stuff, that would be great. And I will see you next month. Bye guys.